like, share, subscribe. Shouts out to the Lions Den community. And don't y'all forget to subscribe to the podcast show. Link will be pinned in the top of the chat.
Just name the channel who could bang with us. I'll prove that you are smoking dust. GTV Media is top notch in this game, y'all. You failures only have yourself to blame, y'all. Cricket TV and a weapons make you suckers cry. Why don't you close your channel, crawl into a hole and die? Shout out to those who love our movement, no, we'll never flop until you get your mouth on LDBC. We are the underground outfit, y'all. We built this whole thing by ourselves, no in y'all. Independence start with self-preservation. If you can't take care of self, then how can you build a nation, y'all? Yep, we got that merch for the ladies and yes, we even got that merch for the babies and we got appliances and everything that you will need. We got some banging songs that make anemic haters bleed.
All right, man. Salute everybody tapping on in. Y'all press 1 if y'all can hear me in the comments, man. Got a mic check, 1 2 1 2. If you guys can hear me in the comments, press 1. Salute to everybody that's tapped in. Got some breaking news for you guys today. Coming out of this situation with Donald J. Trump, the Department of Justice, and the infamous woman who was blasted on multiple levels after the aftermath of the Sean Diddy Combs trial. Maurene Comey, Mrs. Maurene Comey, has now decided that she is not going to take her fate laying down. As Maurene Comey, who was leading after Damian Williams left. Damian Williams resigned in December when Donald Trump was going to take over in January. So Maurene Comey was the one who continued and overseeing everything. And so a lot of people upset with her following that Diddy case. As you guys know now, Donald Trump has his guy, Jay Clayton, working as far as in her position now. And now he's taking over the Diddy case and everything like that. He's going hard at Diddy. But Maurene Comey has now filed a lawsuit, a mega lawsuit. And I got the paperwork right here for you guys. Now, Maurene Comey, who's filed this lawsuit, as you guys can see, she has filed a lawsuit against the United States Department of Justice, the Executive Office of the President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump, Francie Hakes, Pamela J. Bondi, Pam Bondi, the Executive Officers for the United States Attorneys, and the Office of Personnel Management. She is suing all of these people in a mega lawsuit now. Now, her lawsuit states that plaintiff Maurene Comey was an exemplary, dedicated, and highly decorated public servant who spent nearly 10 years prosecuting crime and corruption without fear or favor as an assistant United States attorney for the Southern District of New York. During Mrs. Comey's tenure, acting in accord with Department of Justice policy and pursuant to direction from Department of Justice and the United States Attorney's Office leaders, she helped protect the American public by securing hundreds of criminal convictions and participating in dozens of complex cases, including prosecutions of homicides, racketeering, and public corruption. Based on her outstanding record, she was assigned to prosecute high-profile defendants including Sean P. Diddy Combs, Robert Hayden, Jeffrey Epstein, and Ghislaine Maxwell. Y'all smash the like button. Y'all not gonna get notifications. Smash the like button. Y'all already know what time it is. We know what's up. You're not finna get notifications, so y'all just gonna have to deal with this. Matter of fact, I'm gonna put this on the screen for y'all so y'all can see where I'm reading from. Because everybody is gonna wanna know, hey, Ticket Man, where you getting this from? Right from the lawsuit. Right from the lawsuit that she just filed. And she names P. Diddy in it on page 1. And I don't know why she think it would be a success. Everybody thought she was a failure. Everybody thought she was a failure. So I don't know why she would call this a success. I mean, unless they're going to give Diddy 20 years, which for some people, they still won't be satisfied that Diddy got 20 years off this, right? For some of these people, they still not going to be satisfied. They want Diddy to get hit with the whole slab. But I'll put it on the screen for you. I'll play the game with you guys since they want to play. So let's go back to number 2 again. During Mrs. Comey's tenure, acting in accord with the Department of Justice policy and pursuant to direction from the Department of Justice and United States Attorney's Office leaders, she helped protect the American public by securing hundreds of criminal convictions and participating in dozens of complex cases, including prosecutions of homicides, racketeering, and public corruption. Based on her outstanding record, she was assigned to prosecute high-profile defendants, including Sean Diddy Combs, Robert Hayden, Jeffrey Epstein, and Ghislaine Maxwell. In recognition of her work, the Department of Justice repeatedly promoted and honored Mrs. Comey. Despite her exemplary performance, Mrs. Comey was abruptly fired on July the 16th, 2025, the day after the United States Attorney's Office had asked her to take the lead on a major public corruption case, and just 3 months after her latest receipt of a quote-unquote outstanding review. Now, defendants did not identify any cause to provide Mrs. Comey any due process for her removal. She simply received an email with an attachment stating she was being terminated pursuant to Article 2 of the United States Constitution and laws of the United States. Mrs. Comey's termination without cause, without advance notice, and without opportunity to contest it was unlawful and unconstitutional. In addition to her fundamental constitutional rights, Mrs. Comey has statutory protections under the Civil Service Reform Act that govern how and why she could be terminated, including specific prohibitions, or whatever you call it, against termination for discriminatory reasons such as political affiliation. Her termination violated every one of those protections. Defendants have not provided any explanation whatsoever for terminating Mrs. Comey. In truth, there is no legitimate explanation. Rather, the defendants fired Mrs. Comey solely or substantially because her father is former FBI Director James B. Comey, or because her perceived political affiliation and beliefs, or both. James Comey served as the director of the FBI from 2013 until President Donald J. Trump fired him in 2017. For the past 9 years, President Donald Trump has publicly criticized Mr. Comey for his actions while serving as FBI director. And because after he was fired, Mr. Comey, one, wrote a memoir critical of President Trump, two, continued to publicly criticize President Trump and his administration, and three, in May of 2025, posted a message on social media that the president and others in the Trump administration claimed to perceive as threatening. Right? Now, she also goes on to say, and y'all smash the like button as y'all come on in, because this gets good. This gets real good. Following Mr. Comey's May 2025 social media post and other critical statements, Donald Trump supporters called for Mrs. Maurene Comey's firing. Notable among those supporters is Laura Loomer, a social media influencer who, on information and belief, has political influence in the Trump administration, including influence over the termination of federal employees. President Donald Trump has publicly stated, if you're Loomered, you're in deep trouble. That's the end of your career, in a sense, end quote. On May 18th, 2025, Mrs. Loomer called for Mr. Comey's liberal daughter and her Democrat husband to be fired from the DOJ, Department of Justice, immediately for being a national security risk via their proximity to a criminal, i.e. Mr. Comey, who had just committed a felony by threatening the president, end quote. End quote. Mrs. Loomer also declared under Attorney General Pam Bondi, every deep state operator is being emboldened, and she questioned the impartiality of Maureen and Lucas, Maureen's husband, and their prosecutorial roles, especially in high-profile cases due to the undeniable bias and influence stemming from James Comey's public criticism of Donald J. Trump and ongoing investigation into his Instagram posts. After Mrs. Comey's termination, Mrs. Loomer boasted that the decision bleep, 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 right, came 2 months after my pressure campaign on Pam Bondi to fire James Comey's daughter, Maureen, and Comey's son-in-law from the Department of Justice. Let's start right here, because this thing is crazy, crazy, y'all. So, first of all, they're also saying that this is politically motivated, which is illegal. She says the politically motivated termination of Mrs. Comey, ostensibly under Article 2 of the Constitution, upends bedrock principles of our democracy and justice system. Assistant United States attorneys like Mrs. Comey must do their job without fearing or favoring any political party or perspective, guided solely by the law, the facts, and pursuit of justice. Congress recognized this essential proposition and, pursuant to its Article 1 powers, enacted the CSRA to place guardrails on the removal of AUSAs and other federal employees and ensure the continuity and impartiality in government service. The executive branch cannot use Article 2 to overrule Congress and remove career civil servants for perceived disloyalty. Such an act violates the Constitution's fundamental separation powers. It also violates the Bill of Rights, depriving Mrs. Comey of protection under the First and Fifth Amendments. Let's start right there, and let's get to the breakdown of this. First of all, and y'all smash the like button as y'all come on in. If she can prove that this was politically motivated, this is going to be a bad situation, right? Again, if she can prove, right? Because most people think it was politically motivated. A lot of people say, hey, man, she did such a bad job on the Diddy shit, she deserved to be fired. So you have people on both ends of that spectrum. That spectrum is real. You know what I'm saying? With her, she have people on both ends of that spectrum. And again, that is a real spectrum. You know what I mean? Real spectrum that she is looking at right there. Right? Because a lot of people ain't happy with her job. So they could just say, hey, man, you did a bad job on the Diddy shit. And this is another reason and a theory I have that's coming out now that I'm looking at. And my theory is, you guys, is that her doing a bad job on the Diddy shit, right, can give Donald Trump, who has not given Diddy a pardon and has hinted that he won't give Diddy a pardon, that could give Donald Trump and the DOJ a way out, which is why you now have Jay that's in there going super hard on Diddy, because now it's going to be perceived that since he's going super hard on Diddy, right, it's going to be perceived that he's doing a job, and I'm talking about Donald Trump's new guy he has appointed. He's doing a job that Maurene Comey didn't do or was incapable of doing. So Donald Trump and his team can potentially run behind that, which means there's no way he's pardoning Diddy. Because if they stand behind that, then there's just nothing else to talk about. There's no way that they can excuse that. Now, if y'all catch my drift and you understand what I'm talking about, you understand what I'm talking about, right? I'm gonna say this again. So this is what y'all gotta look at. This is what y'all gotta look at, right? So I'm gonna say it again, okay? This is a situation that's going on, all right? So you got a situation with Donald Trump, with Donald Trump and Maurene Comey, and all this entire situation is now going to be out of control because, and they're going to say, no, not political. You didn't do your job. And guess what? They have a lot of people behind them saying they didn't do the job. So yeah, y'all. Salute to everybody that's in the building, man. Ordy, what's up, man? Salute to you, brother. Ordy, if you want, I'll drop a link for you, Ordy. Salute to the OG in the building. If you want, I'll drop a link for you, Ordy. That's if you want. That's if you want. I'll drop a link for you. I'll drop a link for you, Ordy, if you want. Just let me know. I'll drop a link for you. So, yeah, I'm telling y'all what's going on, right? So let's keep going through this lawsuit. My bad, y'all. I was telling the chef what to cook. Anyways, in this lawsuit, it goes on to say, to challenge her illegal termination and assert her rights under the United States Constitution and federal law, Mrs. Comey brings this action against the United States Department of Justice, the Executive Office of the President, Director of the Executive Office for the United States attorneys Francie Hakes in her official capacity, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi in her official capacity, the Executive Office for the United States Attorneys, and the Office of Personnel Management in the United States of America for the purpose of seeking relief under the Administrative Procedure Act 5 U.S.C. 701. Now, the Federal Declaratory Judgment Act 28 U.S.C. 2201, the All Writs Act, and the Constitution of the United States, including the First and Fifth Amendments thereto. Right? So let me say this to y'all right here, and I'm gonna go on because she's explaining a lot of things, man. She says that she's suing Pam Bondi because in her official capacity as the Attorney General of the United States in January 2025, she was nominated by President Donald J. Trump to serve in that position, subject to the advice in the Council of the Senate on Information and Belief. Attorney General Bondi authorized unlawful and unconstitutional actions taken against Mrs. Comey. Also, and I'm just reading some of these allegations she has against some of these people, right? She's saying that the defendant, Executive Office of the President, is headquartered in Washington, D.C., and on information and belief authorized the unlawful and unconstitutional actions taken against Mrs. Comey, right? Now, let me say this to y'all, and she just goes on to talk about why she's suing all these different people, right, within the government, right? All the way up to the Oval Office, pretty much. So she basically, and this is her factual allegations, right? She's saying that she was doing a great job. And see, this is the thing. She said that she was fired due to political reasons. I'm telling y'all this, but the fact that Trump, I'm telling y'all, look at this. And she mentioned that she was put on the Diddy case. And this is what I'm trying to tell y'all right here. She was mentioned that she was put on the Diddy and the Ghislaine Maxwell and the Jeffrey Epstein case. Now, she could try to say, and this is what I think she's going to try to argue in court. With all the heat Trump got coming on him now over the Ghislaine Maxwell and the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, she could try to say, hey, they tried to get me out of the way because of all this heat that was coming down. And they needed people that they could depend on and rely on to, cipher through that information and not, go against me. These are the type of arguments I think she's going to try to make against Donald Trump and his people. Also, here's where I told y'all, I don't miss nothing. I'm damn secure that Donald Trump's not giving Diddy a pardon now. Because of this, and here's the reason why I say this. Universally, a lot of people are upset with Maurene Comey with how she handled the Diddy case, right? They're upset with how she handled that Diddy case. Now, let's talk about that real quick, right? The Diddy case, right? They're upset with how she handled the Diddy case. Now, when I say they're upset with how she handled the Diddy case, she has Trump put his guy Jay Clayton in there to replace her. What has Jay Clayton did? He's immediately came in and nailed hard on Diddy. He said that he's going for more time than what they were originally pushing for with Maurene Comey with Diddy. Trump has came out and said he's not pardoning Diddy. Diddy pretty much has stopped the pardon talk because he know it ain't coming. And now I believe Trump will stand on this. And this will be one of the sticking points right here, because I believe that he will need this to stay away from we fired her because of political reasons. Nah, they're going to say she didn't do her job and she failed on the Diddy case, right? And most people going to go with it because most people think she failed on the Diddy case. Which means what? Donald Trump can't pardon Diddy because that was in line to what he feels like Maurene Comey didn't do her job well. That's why Jay Clayton, his guys in there going hard at Diddy. So it's like, yeah, we're gonna show y'all how to prosecute these guys. See, I'm telling you something, you gotta watch everything. Everything. And to me, that's Donald Trump's way out of this thing of him saying that it wasn't politically motivated of why they fired Maurene Comey. Because notice, they fired her right after the Diddy case was over with, pretty much. Right after the judgment. So now that Trump has appointed his guy, Jay Clayton, put him in Maurene Comey's spot, and Jay Clayton is coming here going hard on Diddy. Look at all these filings Jay Clayton's going in on Diddy about. Donald Trump is probably going to use that and say, see, look at this guy. He's coming in right now going hard on this guy. She couldn't do it. She wasn't doing her job. This is why we got rid of her. Not because of political motivations, right? So Maurene Comey says her factual allegations is that she served as an exemplary assistant United States attorney in the Southern District of New York. And I told y'all Damian Williams was the lead one. She was the assistant. And then Damian Williams quit when Trump came in the office. He quit in December. And so Maurene Comey kind of took over, right? Right? So now let's get to this right here, right? So it says Mrs. Comey graduated from the College of William and Mary, summa cum laude, in 2010, and from the Harvard Law School, where she served on the Harvard Law Review in 2013. After graduating from law school, Mrs. Comey worked for a year as an associate at DeVoise and Plimpton LLP in New York City. She moved into the public sector after that, serving as a law clerk to the U.S. District Judge Loretta A. Prescott, then Chief Judge of the Southern District of New York. Mrs. Comey completed her clerkship and decided to build a career in public service. She applied to serve as an assistant U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York in March of 2015, and after a rigorous interview process with assistant U.S. attorneys in the civil and criminal divisions of the of the office, as well as the executive staff, she was hired by Pret Bharara, then United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York. She began her employment as an AUSA in November of 2015. Mrs. Comey's ensuing decade of service was exemplary. In her tenure at the Southern District of New York, she personally handled 11 criminal trials, secured over 200 convictions, briefed and argued multiple appeals before the Courts of Appeals for the Second Circuit, and supervised numerous additional federal investigations, trials, and convictions. Her performance consistently earned her accolades and promotions, as well as outstanding ratings in her annual reviews, along with glowing commentary, including, for example, right? Mrs. Comey is highly respected, so she talks about all of these different things that people were saying about her that was great, about her work ethic and all of these different things she lists in this lawsuit, right? It says, as further testament to her dedication and exceptional work, the Southern District of New York leadership repeatedly asked Mrs. Comey to conduct the prosecution of some of the most significant criminal cases in the office's recent history, which she also won. Notably, in her almost 10 years as an AUSA, Mrs. Comey served with distinction through Democratic and Republican administrations, earning the support and confidence of supervisors, United States attorneys, and Department of Justice officials serving under President Obama, Trump, and Biden. Mrs. Comey spent the first 18 months of her AUSA career in the Southern District, New York's White Plains Division, where she pursued violence, narcotic, fraud, and sexual exploitation cases. During this time, Mrs. Comey investigated and began prosecuting Nicholas Tartaglone, a former police officer and the perpetrator of a gruesome quadruple homicide. After many years building the case, in a 4-week trial in 2023, Mrs. Comey and her team secured a second conviction, secured a conviction against Tartaglone on all 17 counts, and he was sentenced to 4 consecutive life sentences. In recognition of her excellent work on that case, U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara awarded Mrs. Comey an award for outstanding efforts and exceptionally high quality work in December 2016. Mrs. Comey moved to the Manhattan office in 2017 and joined the Violent and Organized Crime Unit, where she prosecuted dozens of defendants for violent offenses, including racketeering and murder. In September 2019, Mrs. Comey moved to the Public Corruption Unit, where she prosecuted bribery and other cases involving abuse of public trust. With her significant experience prosecuting matters involving violence and sexual exploitation, the Southern District of New York supervisors assigned Mrs. Comey to work on the investigation of Jeffrey Epstein in the spring of 2019. She was part of a team that conducted grand jury proceedings and secured an indictment against Jeffrey Epstein for sex trafficking and conspiracy. Mr. Epstein was arrested on July 6, 2019. Mrs. Comey was one of 3 prosecutors who then represented the United States in Jeffrey Epstein's criminal case, successfully defeating his request for bail pending trial. Mr. Epstein died in federal jail on August 10, 2019, right? While awaiting trial. As a result, the charges against him were ultimately dismissed. Jeffrey Berman, then U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, serving in the Trump administration, supervised Mrs. Comey's work on the investigation and prosecution of Mr. Epstein at all times. At the direction and under the supervision of the Southern District of New York leadership, Mrs. Comey and her team continue to investigate Jeffrey Epstein's. Now listen, y'all, this is very important because Epstein could be tied to this. She might be leaning towards pushing that Trump try to get her out, not because of Diddy. She investigated Epstein. What all did she know? See, when you investigate and you find out a lot of things, there's certain things that are brought to the public, certain things that aren't. What did she find in these investigations that she knew? And she's a public servant. If she's fired, she cannot give classified information to the public. So, listen very closely to what's being said. So, Mr. Epstein died in federal jail on August 10, 2019 while awaiting federal trial. As a result, the charges against him were ultimately dismissed. Jeffrey Berman, then U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, serving in the first Trump administration, supervised Mrs. Comey's work on the investigation and prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein at all times. At the direction and under the supervision of the Southern District of New York leadership, Mrs. Comey and her team continued to investigate Jeffrey Epstein's criminal operation after Mr. Epstein died. So they kept investigating Jeffrey Epstein even after he died. They uncovered details that implicated Jeffrey Epstein's former girlfriend and collaborator, Ghislaine Maxwell. On or about July 2nd, 2020 in the Southern District of New York, through Mrs. Comey and her team, obtained an indictment charging Mrs. Maxwell with enticing a minor to travel to engage in criminal sexual activity, transporting a bleep with the intent to engage in criminal sexual activity, conspiracy to commit both of these offenses, in perjury in connection with 2 sworn depositions. Mrs. Comey and her team subsequently obtained a superseding indictment, additionally charging Ghislaine Maxwell with the conspiracy to commit sex trafficking of a minor and sex trafficking of a minor. At the direction and under the supervision of the Southern District of New York leadership, Mrs. Comey successfully led the investigation and prosecution of Ghislaine Maxwell, including serving as one of the lead trial lawyers in a month-long trial and secured justice for many victims of Mr. Epstein and Ms. Maxwell. On December 9, 2021, a jury convicted Maxwell on five counts, including sex trafficking of a minor, conspiracy, and transportation of a minor for illegal sexual activity. Ghislaine Maxwell was sentenced in June of 2022 to 20 years in prison for her role in the sex trafficking scheme. U.S. Attorney Berman and later acting U.S. Attorney Audrey Strauss, both serving in the first Trump administration, were deeply involved in supervising that investigation and prosecution of Ghislaine Maxwell during their tenures. In addition, also at the direction under the supervision of the Southern District of New York leadership, Mrs. Comey handled the investigation and indictment of Robert Haddon, a gynecologist who criminally sexually abused dozens of patients for decades at Columbia University and New York Presbyterian Hospital. Mr. Haddon was sentenced to 20 years in prison for his depraved crimes. Mrs. Comey carried a substantial caseload beyond high-profile matters that she handled. The other cases featured large volumes of violence and drug cases, including prosecutions of over 40 defendants charged with murder, 80 additional defendants charged with racketeering, and also 80 other defendants charged with narcotics offenses. In addition, Mrs. Comey handled white-collar crimes, such as prosecutions of multiple correctional officers for accepting bribes from inmates in exchange for smuggling contraband, a union president and a volunteer fire department treasurer for embezzlement, a senior advisor at the Treasury Department's Financial Claims Enforcement Network for unlawfully disclosing suspicious activity reports. And she goes on to talk about all of these different things, ladies and gentlemen, that she investigated, ladies and gentlemen. All of these different things. It's crazy work. And then she gets to Diddy. Lord Jesus have mercy. And now we get to Sean Diddy Combs. So let's see what she says about Diddy. Right? So, as far as Sean Diddy Combs is concerned, most recently, Maurene Comey joined the prosecution team that tried Sean Diddy Combs. Mr. Combs was indicted and arrested in September of 2024 and charged with racketeering, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Mrs. Comey's Southern District of New York supervisors asked her to join the team after Diddy was charged, and she served as the lead prosecutor in the 2-month trial against him from May through July 2025. Mr. Combs was convicted of transportation with the intent to commit prostitution and now awaits sentencing. He faces up to 20 years in prison. She didn't talk about in his lawsuit how they lost 2 major points of that case, the RICO and the sex trafficking. She just knows how Diddy is facing 20 years. She continues to talk about Epstein and Diddy. She also says that President Trump has publicly criticized her father for nearly a decade, beginning with President Trump's disapproval of Comey's actions Mr. Comey took when he served as director of the FBI, according to a website that compiles President Trump's posts on social media platforms X and True Social. Trump has thus far posted or reposted approximately 259 times about her father, Mr. Comey, including describing him repeatedly as the worst FBI director in history. During his first presidential campaign, then candidate Trump called on the FBI to bring criminal charges against Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton. After Mr. Comey announced that the FBI would not recommend that the justice bring charges, President-elect Trump reposted that Mr. Comey stood in the way of an investigation that he claimed that was the best thing that ever happened to Hillary Clinton, and that he gave her a free pass for many bad deeds. After he was elected, President Trump's criticism of Comey continued, including for the FBI's investigation into Russia's role in the 2016 presidential election, which President Trump has repeatedly criticized as a hoax and a witch hunt. On May the 9th, 2017, President Trump terminated Maurene Comey's father. In the following years, President Trump and Mr. Comey publicly commented and criticized each other. Trump has also continued to refer to Russia and Hillary Clinton investigations as hoaxes, witch hunts, and rigged probes, and claimed that Mr. Comey was a liar and that he and Hillary Clinton, among others, should be in jail. President Trump continues to criticize Mr. Comey, posting about Mr. Comey on Truth Social as recently as August the 13th and 14th. On Information and Belief, as reported by the press, while in office during his first term, President Trump told his White House chief of staff that he wanted a number in his perceived political enemies to be investigated by the IRS. On Information and Belief, and also as reported by the press in 2019, Mr. Comey was notified that the IRS would audit him. More recently, in May 2025, Mr. Comey posted on social media an image showing she shells arranged to read 8647. President Trump and others within the Trump administration claim to interpret the 86 as a slang term for eliminate 47 as representing President Trump and the 47th president, describing it as a call for violence against President Trump. Mr. Comey described the post as a political message that was not associated with violence, but he deleted the post. On May 16, 2025, President Trump appeared on Fox News and called Mr. Comey a dirty cop and accused him of publishing an assassination message. The Department of Homeland Security and United States Secret Service reportedly investigated Mr. Comey in connection with his now deleted post. Following Mr. Comey's May 2025 social media posts and other critical statements, President Trump supporters, including Laura Loomer, called for the termination of his daughter, Mrs. Maurene Comey. Mrs. Loomer has met with President Trump in the Oval Office and, upon Information and Belief, has political influence in the Trump administration with respect to the firing of federal employees. President Trump has publicly stated, "You don't want to be loomed. If you're loomed, you're in deep trouble. That's the end of your career in a sense." Specifically, on May 18, 2025, Mrs. Loomer, who has over 1.7 million followers on X, called for the firing of Mr. Comey's liberal daughter and Democrat son-in-law, stating as follows: Pam Bondi is allowing James Comey's daughter and his son-in-law to work at the Trump DOJ. And it went on and on and on, and what she said. This is a 39-page lawsuit, you guys. 39 pages is this lawsuit. And I'm not going to read all 39 pages because it gets deep. It gets deep. But y'all got to let me know what y'all think, man. How do y'all think this is going to pan out, bro? Because this one of them ones right here, y'all. If y'all wanted to know, this one of them ones right here, y'all. This one of them ones right here. And I really mean it. So I want to know how everybody feels about this situation, because it's going down, man. It's going down, man. Crazy work, you guys. Oh, man, dog. Crazy work, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Like, share, subscribe.
Hey, I really appreciate you guys for supporting the channel, supporting the network. Like, share, and subscribe. Once again, there are links. Get the free membership on our website. That way you guys won't miss any of our news update stories or videos. They're all on the website, tickettvmedia.com. You go over there. You can go right to the members part and become a free member. That way you guys will get all the updates. Also, straight drought weight loss formula. Make sure y'all go tap in and copy some of that, as well as subscribing to our podcast show. Link will be pinned at the top of the chat down there below. And also, we just appreciate all y'all who support the channel. Cash App, PayPal.